In this bonus episode of Fictional Hangover, we talk about stealing Vish's guitar, why we're moving to Canada, how no one wants to get biffed, and being forbidden to watch Conan the Barbarian, in our chat about the Grimmer with Naben Ruthnum. Hey everybody, welcome to Fictional Hangover, a podcast about young adult and new adult, and sometimes other books, series, authors, voice actors, and illustrators that is full of spoilers. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire, and today we're going to talk to Naben Ruthnum, author of The Grimmer.
Alright. Claire,
Yes.
is it time for Would You Rather?
Of course it's time. It's overdue. It's past time.
And this time is very special because we are joined by the author of this amazing, disgusting book full of spit and teeth.
Stop
Yay!
saying spit!
Yay, thanks for joining us, Naben. You're amazing, and we love your book so much.
Oh, thank you. That's great. Love to hear it.
You're going to get tired of our fangirling, I think, but you know what? I'm not sorry about it.
No, don't apologise. Don't lie again. We've already established that you're full of lies.
Fine by me.
Well, let's dive into Would You... Oh, pew pew for Would You Rather.
Oh, yes. Pew, 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 pew.
Pew. We asked on social media, would you rather hang out with old friends and start a band or meet new friends that own a bookstore? On Facebook, 86% said they're going to go to the bookstore. On Instagram, it was 100% to the bookstore, which may have something to do with the hashtag Bookstagram, I'm supposing.
And all of our friends on Instagram are authors.
Yeah, that's true. On TikTok, however, 64% are going to start a band. And on Threads, which have started doing polls, great, 80% to bookstores. I think there is an element of bias because we do have a lot of, obviously, bookish followers and friends and things.
Yeah.
But yeah. Before we answer, we're going to give you some comments because they do help us with our reasoning why and what we're going to pick. So Brie on Facebook, Superfan Brie, said, both of these are going to make me go broke. As fun as starting a band with old friends is, I became a punk drummer for a year because of this, which, you know, Brie, you are a legend. At this stage of my life, I don't want to lug gear around to shows and practices. I'm meeting new friends who own a bookstore.
That's a good answer.
It is.
That's extremely solid reasoning.
Yeah. Coral on Facebook said, silly question, bookstore all day. I think a band sounds like way too much work. And then superfan Lindsay agreed and says that she will always choose bookstore. And then Coral came back to Lindsay and said it sounds a little easier. With a band, you have to travel on a bus. No thanks. And what if no one shows up at your shows?
But what if nobody shows up at your bookstore? Like, you've got an author reading or something. You see those on Twitter all the time where nobody shows up to the author readings. It's like, no, I'll come.
I like that she shoots right to touring on a bus too. And I never made it to that point of the career. The bus costs a few bucks. You're in a terrible van or a minivan.
Oh, the van years. They're the bus years. Lydia on Facebook says, I have a guitar and an amp. So she's already ready to tour.
She is already ready to tour. Actually, she doesn't have her guitar and amp. She actually let me borrow her guitar for our episode picture because it's
Very
it's
cool.
exactly Vish's guitar. So
You've stolen Vish's guitar. That's
I stole it.
terrible.
I have Vish's guitar. I have it.
It's
Terrible. It's fine. Let's see. We have more comments. Headzilla on Threads said, you see, this is a tougher one than you might imagine at first. I mean, on one hand, bookstore. On the other hand, that means going out and meeting new people, which, I don't know about you, terrifies the sweet holy fuckery out of me. Then there's the fun of sex, drugs, and rock and roll with your nice, warm, safe, friendly friends who you've known forever, and you don't need to worry about all the bullshit that comes along with getting to know new people. That's it. Band.
I'm very surprised by that.
Just so you don't have to meet new people?
No, just knowing who Headzilla is, that the big band. Be sitting there on the ukulele. Merrow Child on Instagram, aka author friend Rosie Talbot. Definitely the bookstore. Obviously, she works in a bookstore. Preferably with one of the magical portals hidden in the shelves and a really good cafe. Now, I'm sorry, but Rosie obviously has one of these portals in the bookshop she works in.
She must.
So she's not answering from fiction, she's answering from life.
Very good.
Our last comment is from Instagram, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's from Nadia Johnson Books. And their response is bookstore, unless it's an ABBA tribute band, in which case my friends and I are so ready for that disco mess. I want to be in an ABBA tribute band. That sounds terrible.
I banned ABBA. I banned ABBA at my wedding.
Forbidden. I don't mind ABBA. I think they're pretty good, but the barrier for entry of being an ABBA cover band, I think, is probably higher than a lot of us expect. Those are some tough tunes to pull off.
Yeah.
As well as very annoying once you've heard them 10,000 times.
I will say, though, if you're ever in London and you get the chance to see the ABBA Voyage show, which I did this year we went for a friend's birthday, and it's all 3D electronics, the lights are fantastic. It's an absolute show, and I'm not an ABBA fan, but that was really fun. That was really good. So if you're ever in London, go and see that. And I think that considering going to Las Vegas with it, it's all purpose-built stadium and everything, so it is fun. Even if you don't like ABBA, it is fun.
It's great. Do I have to answer it now?
Yes, we insist.
Yeah.
I would go for a bookstore at this age and point in my life. I think that sounds like more fun, and it's not impossible that it does become part of my future at some point. If I've always kind of wanted to have part of a bookstore, at least, to own that. So, and yeah, having said that, I think the counter argument is, not that I'm going to double up my answer. I've already decided it's bookstore, but when I was in bands when I was young, I took it so seriously, and like it was something that I needed to do, like, and think of as being my career. I think it would actually be really fun at this age to just do a band and have fun with it, like you're supposed to. Just enjoy playing music, and that's not really a thing you can do as a business owner. It's got to kind of like bear down and do it. Whereas a band with your old friends can be just meeting up once a month in a practice space and having fun.
Yeah, you just jam.
I have no musical talent whatsoever. I can do a lot of weird shit, a lot of random things, but I just, music eludes me.
Yeah.
I can't do it. So I have to own a bookstore.
Yeah,
I guess.
Of course.
Yeah. But also, I mean, I kind of do, except for it's not a bookstore, it's a library, but that's fine.
You technically don't own it, you manage it.
I
And
mean,
it doesn't have books on a shelf yet.
But it will. I'm opening up a new branch in my community of my library system, and literally my blood, sweat, tears, and arm hair are in this branch. So it's mine. I'm claiming ownership.
Yeah, you're not the owner, you're at least the overlord, God Emperor. Yes. It's your library. Yeah.
I am going to name myself Overlord of the library.
Good.
Thank you for that.
I approve.
Yes, I'm gonna.
I look forward to that sign on your office door.
Yep, I'm doing it.
Excellent.
I need to make myself a note right now because I am.
I've already written it down for you. Don't worry.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I too am going to have a bookstore. I have not a musical bone in my body. I've always wanted to own a indie bookstore with a cool kids section at the back with all the fairy tale stuff. I want, the fantasy section. I want to really heavily theme it. I want the nice cafe. I want to smell coffee. And I want a tabletop section because I'm a massive tabletop geek as well.
Yeah.
And have tabletop nights, and I want to have book club nights. But I also want the book club nights where you don't have to talk to anybody. You can literally just come, have a beverage, sit and read a book in somewhere comfortable and warm in a safe space, and just chill. And if you want to talk, that's fine. but it's just, you know, that companionable silence that you can get.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I want to do loads of author events, and just like, I will make sure people turn up to it.
Yeah.
This level of detail, it sounds more like a business plan than a dream. I should
I'm
actually
not gonna
just do
lie.
this. Yeah.
I have thought about it, but
There's some
where I
documents.
live, I don't know how much an indie bookshop would work well.
Okay, so then what you need to do, you need to move here to the United States, and then we open the Fictional Hangover bookstore.
I'm
Good name for a
not,
bookstore.
but National Health Service and gunners.
Yeah. Sorry. I know,
So
yeah.
you need to come here, and we'll just go to a bigger city.
Okay.
We have free healthcare in Canada too.
Let's go to
Just gang
Canada.
up on you.
Let's go to Canada.
Let's just
In
go
the
to
middle.
Canada.
Yeah. Not to say that the system isn't incredibly overtaxed, like the NHS. I mean, overtaxed isn't like very busy.
Overworked,
Not that I mind paying taxes. I like paying taxes for good social services. Yeah. Yeah. It's not paradise. But
No, but at
Of
least we
course.
don't have to pay, like, be worried about going to the hospital in an ambulance and
exactly.
forking out thousands and going into debt.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. We'll
Thank
we'll
you.
both uproot
Just-
and we'll both go to Canada. We'll just do that.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. I'm no longer depressed about living in the United States with my very expensive, very bad health insurance. If we're
No.
moving to
Public
Canada,
health.
it's fine.
Yes.
What a grim turn to what did I do?
I know. What
lovely
is
little
happening?
brother?
What
I'm
is
sorry. I did
happening
this.
right now?
Do we need to start talking about teeth and spit again? Oh look,
Yes!
question 2.
Yay! Would you rather have Ferris put his teeth in your mouth or drink the spit hairball potion?
I would go spit hairball potion.
Oh,
Because the teeth thing is like, so in the book it's just so intentionally violating and creepy and sticks with you, whereas the spit thing is meant to, like, one thing, it's a friendly gesture, if not entirely like fully consensual. It's a person trying to help him, and also like it helps his body reject things as opposed to have them be part of him forever. So yeah, I think definitely spit.
Oh, yuck.
If
I'm-
it makes you feel better, it's more phlegm than spit. Like very mucousy, thick phlegm.
I'm gonna take my A4 out just so I don't hear any more conversation.
I think you're gonna make Claire vomit.
Has that happened on the podcast before? I like to have
No.
goals. in all
No,
my
this
interviews.
would be
Okay.
the first. This would be the first one.
I'm not actually going to do that. I would not want to make that happen.
No,
However,
please.
I think I could.
I
could.
think that
oh,
you
Matt's
would
all
put it
for
in-
it.
I am. Who would be amazing?
That we'd all feel so bad, like you, because you've just vomited.
She would
and
not.
us
You
because we
would.
bullied
You
somebody
would.
into throwing up.
Amanda wouldn't. Amanda would just be laughing, and then at the vomit, the video of me vomiting would be everywhere all
would
the
be
time.
all over
She
social
would.
media.
She would post it all across social media every freaking day. She would set up timed posts to keep it going on.
Scheduled. Great.
That's my best
All right,
friend,
okay, we'll
everyone.
do it
That's
then.
my best friend.
I'm a really good person.
What are you doing, Amanda, while I recalibrate?
It's really hard to say because, I mean, they're both really gross. But I've got my weird obsession with teeth in horror books. So, I mean, I guess that's what I have to pick just because I love creepy teeth things. That's what I have to pick. It was so good. I love weird teeth things, and this book was full of weird
It's
teeth
something
things.
that's definitely grown as we've been doing the podcast. Like
I
at
know.
first, teeth,
I
cool.
think
Now
think I
you're
might
just
have-
like,
Forced it into existence.
it's definitely been manifested.
It has been. I love it so much. love
I
creepy
too am going to pick
things.
teeth just so I don't have to think about the alternative. Because even moderately thinking about it, my stomach is turning.
Yeah.
It's,
You really-
it sneaks up on me. Like the last thing I wrote was a non-YA horror, like just a slim novella, and in that case too, like there's things in it that are so obviously gross when people tell me about like, oh, this part of your book was so disgusting. And to me, I'm not because it's not intentional to like write something gross. I'm just writing like what makes sense in the scene, um, what is cool or interesting in the scene in some cases. I just never realized like how actually what the effect is going to be of like it's disgusting. And yeah, certainly talking about it a little out of context. Both those things are really gross, and I'm sorry.
No, don't apologise. Don't
Never.
apologise at all. You
Never be
getting
sorry.
this kind of visceral reaction out of
Yeah.
someone should be exactly what you want as an author. And
Mhm.
you know, bravo, sir, bravo. It's
Thank you.
two things I hate are things in walls. I don't
Mm.
know. It's just like in spitting. And as we discussed with me and Amanda, when we talked about this, we kind of boiled it down to recreational spitting. Like what? And I don't know in. I said I don't know in America, and I certainly don't know in Canada, but it's a thing where British men, the vile creatures that they are, seem to just walk along. Not all of them, but there's a certain stereotype. Walk along, and they'll just hock a loogie and just right, really
Yep.
lob something thick and viscous out. And it's like, why are you doing that? I've got to walk on that path now. That's disgusting. Brushing your teeth, fine. Illness, fine. You know, getting something that needs to be out, a foreign body out of your mouth, fine.
Yeah.
But it's just,
Also,
who
How do
has
you
that
feel
much
about
extra spit?
How do you feel about chewing tobacco? Where does that?
Don't understand it.
Definitely.
Don't understand it. It's just, you know, it's a backy. No, I think like that's quite an American thing as well. Chewing tobacco now.
I feel
Yeah,
like
geez.
in the American South, hey y'all, it's all over the place.
Ugh.
Gross. Ugh.
I'm adding that to the list of why it's bad
Why we're
for this.
moving to Canada instead.
Where are you both based, if I can ask? I'm in Toronto, in Canada.
I am in the northeast of England.
Neat.
I am in Arkansas.
Arkansas, cool. Never been there. I've been to Tennessee. I've been to Louisiana, but not Arkansas.
There's some good stuff here. There's also some not good stuff here.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I like the South though. I'm a member of the Southern Foodways Association. You know that? Like my very first book was a food book, and like they invited me down to do a talk, and yeah, I really came to learn more about the South than I did before. Yeah.
Have you been to Waffle House? It's my dream. My
I
dream is
have
to
been
go.
to Waffle House.
My dream is to go to Waffle House. It's the one thing I want in this world is to go to Waffle House.
It's pretty neat. I like it. Very efficient, very nice place. You know, but also you know, white tablecloth nice.
I've always said to Amanda, if I ever come to the South and we're going to do a live episode from a Waffle House, and it's just going to be me eating hash browns.
Yes.
That's my dream. Oh, I'm so jealous.
Don't be jealous. Let's move on. What's
Waffle
our...
House, hit us up for some sponsorship. Come on.
It's never gonna happen. What's our next question?
I have no idea. Would you rather own a bookstore or a record store?
Bookstore, absolutely. For one thing, like I find it easier and more fulfilling to keep up with book world, book life, and to have the knowledge and the engagement to run a record store. Not something I want to do at this point. I'm especially like when it comes to more popular music, I feel completely out of step and lost now. I listen to tons of music still and tons of new music too, but just like I never thought I'd feel so alienated by what's on the radio or like watch like the red carpet and MTV and be like I don't know any of these people. But of course it's inevitable. Like that's when my father was 40 and he was watching what I was listening to or what I was watching on those channels. Sure, he felt just mystified. I don't know why it came as such a surprise to me that I would become an out of touch older man.
I know you listen to the radio though, and you think as long as you consistently listen to the radio, why shouldn't you know who these people are.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, my music knowledge is terrible. I know what I like and who I like, but I couldn't actually tell you like album names or song titles. It's just not information that sticks. Movies, yes. Music, for some reason, no.
Yeah.
So yeah, for that reason, I'm having the bookstore.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I want to have a bookstore too, definitely. But then again, also I got the whole library thing going on, where I am the overlord.
Yes, overlord.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like if I had a record store, it would just be like only the things that I like, which would include like 90s, late 80s, early 90s, like hip hop and,
Weird Al
classic
Yankovic.
rock. Weird Al all over the place. No one would want to come to my record store. It's Weird Al. It's Sir Mix-a-Lot. There's some Journey there. We'll keep Journey. No,
Nice.
Nobody would want to come to my record store.
I like it. I like the sound of this place, but I understand its limitations as well.
Yeah, nobody
Any
wants to
band
come here.
which you'd be accused of witchcraft if listening to. That would be mine.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
And then some random pop stuff in there because, damn, I've got taste. No. It's eclectic.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, look, I rarely listen to music anymore. I'm always listening to an audiobook instead. So
It's still really important to me, and like it's I always thought that I'd outgrow heavy metal, especially like when I started to listen like death metal. I just never assumed like, oh well, this is clearly something that eventually I'm just going to seek into listening to like Bach and Brahms, because it has the same kind of chromatic scales. And I do listen to Bach and Brahms, but I also still listen to Carcass. Like this, it's never gone away from me. And yeah, I still listen to a lot of music every day.
Yeah.
And as a result, I feel like I've lost touch with like important new media things like podcasts and even audiobooks. Like I definitely like kind of skew musical more than listening to the voice.
Yeah. Sometimes I've got to have a dance party in my kitchen. Sometimes I've got to sit back and listen to a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm almost always listening to a book. And like the only time when I'm not listening to a book, like when I'm in the car driving, is that I just finished my book and I'm driving, so I can't start another one safely. So
you settled for the radio.
Yeah. Well, and and then I've got like satellite radio, so then it's the 90s music, which is fine.
Yeah.
Or my classic rock, which is fine. There's not a Weird Al station though on the satellite radio.
Yeah.
Need to work on that.
Manifesting. Yeah, you see, my commute is always quite long. That if I know I'm not, if and I get stuck in traffic, it's a long commute and traffic because of roadworks. So I check to see how much of a book I've got left, and if I don't think I'm going to make it home, then I'll line up about 3 or 4 different podcast episodes depending on what I'm listening to, just to make sure I have that consistency, because I don't like chopping and changing between. I like to like zone out and listen to one thing. So I've been listening to a lot of true crime lately, and I was just telling Amanda I was listening to like the West Memphis 3, where again it's all like the music that they listened to and the books that they read got them accused of these terrible crimes. So I'm like, we're gonna get done for murder now based on their history.
That's such an intense and crazy story, and that always like really hit up. I remember that was like Metallica licensed their music to the first of those documentaries for free because they were like big believers in it. And also, it just feels bad to have a kid in jail with your T-shirt on because he's wearing your T-shirt. Yeah. But it really resonated for me. Like I had a lot of similar childhood teen stuff to Vish in this book in terms of the things I was into. Thankfully not his like difficult family situation, but just made me realize like, different place, different time, I could be in jail for wearing this T-shirt, and not even a different time. It was basically the same year that I was getting into all this stuff. So
how dare you have naturally black hair as well? I mean, obviously, just crazy. It's crazy stuff.
It's crazy.
Anyhow, should we have another question?
Yes. Why are my questions like the worst ones? Oh, because
Oh
I wrote them.
no!
Oh,
I
that's
know what
why.
it is. Oh.
Okay. Would you rather,
Do this on purpose.
I know, use spit or a cat laser ball as a weapon?
Cat laser ball, because bloody hell with the spit.
I love that scene, though. It's so good.
Definitely the cat laser ball, because it all it helps the cat eventually,
Yeah.
because it's it kind of like takes out a lot of toxic spiritual plaque, and also it's very cool and unexpected. And
Yeah.
I have to admit, I feel really weird talking about that part of the book, but you guys did say this is a spoilery podcast.
Oh,
But
yeah.
We've already told everybody that Buddy is the MVP and saves the day.
yes.
Yeah.
This is actually, by the way, let me see if I can free this. This is the real Buddy's collar. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, of course, but that's why. That's part of like the origins of this book is
Oh.
really missed my stupid dead cat. So I wanted to
No.
put him in a book. Yeah. And he lives forever. As long as enough people read the book, of course.
Yeah.
So if you care about my cat, that's
And
the
he's
book.
got laser powers, so
Exactly. Yes.
Oh.
I don't know if you could hear one of my cats was outside of my door meowing earlier, so
Oh yeah.
they wanted to participate.
We have a couple now. There's another cat in the book, Moby. That is
Yeah.
one of my current living cats, and we have another new one. Yeah. She's rambunctious. She's good.
And what is her name? Who is she?
Her name, well, it's a bit disputed in the house. My wife calls her Molly. I call her Moll, like Moll, like in Daniel Defoe's Moll Flanders. I just think it's a cooler name.
Yeah.
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 Oh.
And see, I just have B. He's just like the letter B. B.
Oh, nice. I like that.
And Gozer from Ghostbusters.
Oh, excellent. Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
That's a great cat name, actually.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, he's a good cat. Both of them are great cats. They don't have laser powers though.
That you know
No
of.
lasers. Yeah,
Well,
that's
you
the
know,
thing. They
They've
have to
had
be extracted.
right, but they've had a good life. They don't have a lot of, therapists, sharing or people going to therapists, sharing all of their emotional drama and all of that stuff. They don't have that. They're just
Yeah.
they're just fat, jolly, older gentleman cats.
They just chill.
Yeah,
Sounds pretty good.
yeah. So they probably wouldn't have lasers.
Unless
No
they've
lasers.
been into your library and been reading your books and had got the emotions from the books.
Right.
You don't know what they're doing when you're out at work.
That's true. They do. I don't
possible.
know. I don't know what they get up to.
I don't think you answered the question.
I don't think I did
you?
either.
Yeah.
I don't think I did. I mean, I feel like you have to choose cat lasers
Yeah.
because you have to. But I feel like if I did use spit as a weapon, I would injure myself more than I would injure anyone else because I don't have that's like spitting ability. I would just drool all over myself.
Yeah.
And that's not
Well,
that's
that's
not
right.
dangerous to anyone.
Yeah. It's
Except
good
for
to know.
myself.
It's good you know that about yourself, so you
Yeah.
don't get into that situation.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I took my earphone out. I didn't need to hear it. Lastly, would you rather bounce around back in time or go to one time specifically?
Jeez, this is always a tough one because there's as like an English speaking brown guy, there's a lot of places in the past that I find fascinating that I don't know, I might have a harder time blending in without it being pretty unpleasant for me.
Yeah.
But if that wasn't an object, it would definitely be like 1890s London, and shortly after, like the sort of Sherlock Holmes and Henry James era, like that's kind of a time I feel like I would really like to live in.
Are you going to solve the Ripper murders?
I think I'll stay out of Whitechapel and have a very different life. But yeah, there's something about the sort of bouncing around in time and sort of sampling things from different era in the Grimmer that I could see the appeal. That's why I wrote about it, of course, is I could definitely see the appeal. But it also makes you like sort of ageless and dislocated from reality in a way that if I ever wrote more about these characters, I'd really want to explore that more, like what it's like to be just completely not tied to a place and not tied also to like living a certain span of life and then dying. That's, I feel it begins to make you somewhat inhuman, as you don't really see that much of that in Gisela in this book, but yeah, if I did go on with this story, I think you would see more of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be really cool. I love that she's like, well, I'm 16, but I'm also 786.
Yeah.
Shit. It's a wide range of time.
Quite a span. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a debate of age gaps as well.
Yeah. But we talked about this. There was no romance in this book, so
Yeah, I mean,
we didn't have to worry about that.
I thought that was pretty organic to that story. Like he's not dating material, our young protagonist in here. I feel like his friends Matt and Danny, both in their way, could have like romance even in this book if there were enough pages that could happen, but certainly in another book. But yeah, I just didn't see that as, it wasn't a conscious decision of like I don't like romance in YA books or anything. It just, as much as it makes a lot of sense that Vish would crush desperately on Gisela, it doesn't make sense that would be reciprocal in any way.
Yeah.
And the age gap thing is like, it's significant. Like he's not even quite his age because he's been sort of pulled out of his life for a couple of years. So he's got that mix that I think a lot of bookish teenagers do, where you're pretty smart, but you're also incredibly immature.
Yeah. Which we appreciated. Like, I'm not opposed to having romance in books at all, but I don't like it when it's shoehorned in or forced. Like, you know, you've made to. I can see, depending on trends and publishing houses, etc., you know, the political side to it, where you'd be told, no, Vish and Gisela have to kiss at some point. They have to have a romance at some point. So I'm really glad that it wasn't in there, because otherwise, you know, it was such an organic relationship that they did have. And I very much appreciated that. That was nice.
Thanks. It's great. Glad it worked.
Yeah.
I'm going to bounce through time. There's not one time historically that I'm bothered by. Like, I need to see the pyramids being created. I want to see a dinosaur so badly. You know, I want to go and see the Regency tomfoolery and all that kind of stuff. But I need medicine. I need indoor plumbing. I don't, you know... Antibiotics are a really relatively recent invention, and damn, I like them, you know? I like toilet paper.
Yeah.
You know? I like to be able to take a couple of ibuprofen when I've got a headache, so I need to make sure that I am, you know, safe in these places. There's a series of books that I absolutely adore called The Chronicles of St. Mary's. It's excessively British, and it is a time travel book. Don't say it's time travel, though. They go and catalogue history in current time. But you know that it says time travel. But they bounce around and they talk a lot about how they have to be dressed periodly appropriate. They have to undergo quarantines. They have to make sure that they've got all their inoculations all up to date. And there is one or two characters that do have that dislocation with time as well, which is very interesting to see. And what can happen if you are out of your own time. So I kind of like felt with the Grimmer, I could see that very closely tying in, and they so their picture of time felt very close to what you were building as well. So it felt very comfortable for me, and I really enjoyed it. But I need to be safe. I need my toilet paper. I need my medication. I'm taking antibiotics with me just in case. So yeah, I'm gonna bounce around, see a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Very reasonable.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that too. And it's interesting that you answered that in that way, because that was my reasoning as well. Like, I can't go very far back in time on account of the diabetes and, you know, needing insulin.
Yes.
So I'll go and visit. I'll take some extra supplies with me. But I can't stay there. I can't stay there because I'll just shrivel up and die.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be very fun.
Yeah, nostalgia is a dangerous thing politically in many ways, but there's also just this practical element. Like, as much as this seems like not the best time to be living, in many ways it is, which is crazy. But yes,
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Could I go forward in time? Because maybe I'll go forward to a specific time, but then I don't know. And then also thinking about bouncing around in time, like, is it going to butterfly effect? Are terrible things going to happen?
It's going to go wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, and then the Paradox Police are going to come after you, and it's all just going to turn into a massive mess. It's dangerous. Do you really want to know the future? Do you want to go 10 years in the future and find out that somebody close to you is dead?
No.
Then that's
why are you making this terrible?
Because
that's
time
normally
is
my
terrible. No, time is terrible. Going forward or back is terrible. You know, it's like going. Oh, I'm going to go back to the 70s. You know, flower power, man. No, serial killers. Do you know how many serial killers were around in the 70s?
Don't
Avoid
let people...
that shit. Don't go there.
Don't pick up hitchhikers.
Don't
help
I've got
people
a list.
move couches into their vans.
Don't go into the forest. Don't camp. Don't hitchhike. Keep your doors locked. Don't sleep on the sofa. I've got a list now. It's just you got to think of the practicalities. The practicalities of survival in time.
These are all strong arguments.
I'm just glad it went straight to serial killers.
I've been listening to a lot of true crime.
Yeah. It's got to avoid the entire west coast of the United States between about 1965 and 2000.
Yeah.
All serial killers all the time.
Don't go to the Yorkshire area in the UK in around about the same period as well.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I mean, to be fair, wouldn't you be so tempted to just go back to like 1995 and invent YouTube earlier than what it was, and Amazon and stuff, and be like, whoa.
Yeah. The Back to the Future 2 of it.
Yes.
I really liked how they did it. That was so elegant in that movie that it's just like an almanac, like baseball scores.
Yes.
Makes all the difference financially. It's great.
It's amazing.
The temptation will be there.
Oh, but then you get biffed.
Don't get biffed.
Don't get biffed.
Oh,
and then
biffing
Biff
your time
was
travel.
actually basically just Donald Trump. So it's terrible. It's terrible. Nobody wants to get biffed. We need him washing cars and being meek. We don't need him rising to power.
Agreed.
In a casino.
You should rewatch those.
Oh, yeah, you should.
I feel like Back to the Future is coming up in conversation quite a lot lately. And Ghostbusters.
Yes. We do tend to talk about those things quite a lot.
On a book podcast.
And I'm fine with it. It's fine.
We're nothing if not eclectic.
Right. So that's the end of our Would You Rather questions, and then we have a couple more other things. And I feel like, I mean, I know that we have some book-related questions, but I feel like what we were just talking about leads itself very well into, like, the pop culture references in the book. They were so good. Like, I need to know. Well, first, I guess we should talk about the things that were mentioned. You know, there's a Conan the Barbarian poster. He's wearing Batman Forever boxers. Like, these are all amazing things. They're watching Clint Eastwood movies. And, you know, he's listening to Slayer and Megadeth and Metallica and Motorhead and, like, all of these things. Like, are those your favorite things?
It's, in terms of, like, you know, I've written a lot of, not a lot. I've written quite a few books now. I don't find it that interesting to, like, write very closely to myself usually. Like, there's no character I've written who's like, that's me. But Vish's tastes are very much my own tastes. And, like, especially at that age, at being, like, 16 years old, 14 to 16. And a lot of, like, those discoveries in the sort of pre-internet age where you get really intensely into, like, one album and then the next and then the next. And so that little world of thrash metal and then, older movies, as well as like admittedly not the best Batman movie, but the one that was my favorite when I was 12. All those things definitely did sneak in there. Yeah, and it wasn't just sneaking. It was an essential aesthetic part of this novel. And I think it's interesting like how little off the beaten path you have to get if you're growing up in a certain kind of small town or city, and in order to be like completely alternative and weird, and like Vish's tastes are just weird enough for him to be completely out of the mainstream in his town, as mine were too, even though it's funny because those bands, all the ones you've mentioned, have sold millions of records, so it's not that small of a group.
Yeah, no. It's not. I love that you mentioned that Batman Forever was your favorite, because originally there was an addition to this question, which Batman movie is your favorite, but
looking back at like I'm definitely like a bit exhausted of superhero world, so I've fallen off the last bit. I think actually Batman Returns, like the second Tim Burton one with like the wintry landscape and Catwoman and Christopher Walken. That's the one I like the best. It just has like the richest world in it. Batman Forever, I think I actually kind of I appreciate it on revisit too, just because it's such a camp movie. It's such a great return to like the Adam West Batman, and like it has like it's like a great queer Batman movie. It's neat, and it's great that he just snuck it in there as a sequel to a movie that was not at all like that queer anyway. It's neat.
I feel like Batman and Robin is better / worse though.
In terms of like completely like flooring it on the camp and going crazy, yeah, that's it. But
the homoerotica of that movie was epic.
But it also it looks bad. Like every frame of that movie looks terrible.
But
Joel Schumacher's a brilliant director who's made a lot of good movies. And, yeah,
you can't always have gold though.
Yeah.
But it had Arnold Schwarzenegger in. And he had some terrible puns, and they were amazing.
So bad. Yeah.
You're biased though. Your Arnold Schwarzenegger love knows no bounds.
I know. I am oddly obsessed with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which then again is another question because you mentioned him a couple of times. Conan
is
the
it really in there a
Barbarian,
couple of times?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I think twice. Just the Conan poster, and then there was. Now I can't remember what it is, but I
mean, I believe you because he was and is huge for me. I love Arnold.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Someone else loves Arnold.
Yeah. Conan the Barbarian is actually like an important movie for me, and it was the one that like somebody who worked in my dad's office when I was literally 6 months old in 1982 told my mother like never let your children watch this movie. It's horrific. Like I don't know, and so like it was like on a very short list of like kind of forbidden movies for me, even though I could watch, like I watched RoboCop when I was 8 or 9, just way more violent and crazy than Conan. But as a result of that, I realized like, well, my parents let me read everything. So next time I was at a used bookstore, after I was deeply into Arnold, I started to get the Robert E. Howard Conan books and like the El Sprague de Camp ones, and that opened up the whole world of American pulp fiction for me. Like that led to Lovecraft, and there's a lot of Lovecraft in the Grimmer and in all my horror worlds. So thanks to that sort of puritanical forbidding of Conan, I found a lot of cool stuff.
That is an amazing story. I don't think I've ever heard anyone being forbidden to watch that movie. I can't even think of anything that's. I mean, there were a lot of like.
It's been a while since I've seen it. I can't think.
James Earl Jones had a really interesting hairdo in that one.
Yeah,
that could be considered offensive, But his hair was long and beautiful, and then he turned into a snake, which was amazing.
Yeah.
But I just...
I'm going to have a look at the IMDb pet parental notes, because that may be the parental guides on IMDb are always hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's on there.
So,
There was a woman who was stripped of almost all her clothing.
yes. Yeah,
She had her breasts exposed and part of her butt cheek.
the butt cheek, really.
Brief shots of breasts and butt.
Yeah. Yeah.
All true. It's all in there.
Oh, there is a bestiality implied in a scene. And there are a couple of hardcore sex scenes. So I can understand you. It's all about
There are
butts.
not a couple of hardcore sex scenes. Of course not. There's like very soft movie sex in it.
Seriously, most of this are buttocks and breasts. That's all they're talking about. Butts and breasts. Butts and boobs, butts
they
and
did...
boobs. There's a camel punched in the head and falls unconscious to the ground. 2 men are attacked by a giant snake.
Yes, and then there were also those people who really straightened out the snakes and used them as arrows.
Yeah. You know what it might be? I'm thinking this is when we lived in a pretty Christian part of Canada, and it's possible that this woman is Christian and offended by the crucifixion of Conan, where he crucified and then he that bird is the vulture is pecking at him and he bites it in the neck and drinks its blood to keep living. But I could see even though Robert E. Howard was talking about he loved Rome, so that was a very Roman punishment.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's riffing on Jesus, but I could see perhaps if she thought it was that would be blasphemous and therefore offensive. Maybe
There
that
are
was
several uses of hell, and Conan does call a woman slut.
That's true. He does.
You need to quit
I believe
reading.
it's old slut.
Who hasn't called a woman a slut? In a nice way, though, because it's now 2023. You can call someone a friend. If you have, it's the camel gets punched in the head and falls unconscious to the ground for me.
You can't watch it
That's
anymore.
when he's high on Black Lotus, I believe.
Yeah.
Conan is not responsible for his actions. I've seen the movie a few times. It's a good movie.
Don't forget the witch turns into a demonic creature.
Yeah.
And the vulture tries to eat Conan alive. But Conan takes a bite out of the vulture instead.
Yes.
I love the parent guides on IMDb. They're absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to stop reading.
That's from one of the old pulps, actually. That scene is in not even that great of a Conan story, but when John Milius, the writer-director, read that scene, he's that is Conan. That goes in the movie. It's a great adaptation. He really understood that character through and through, and as I'm sure Amanda knows, when Milius would talk about the movie, he said, if we didn't have Arnold Schwarzenegger, we would have had to build him because nobody else would have been Conan, which I think is true.
Yeah.
Do you still have the same love of the Conan? Is it Jason Momoa did Conan the Barbarian as well? I cannot remember that movie. I've seen it once and I cannot remember it.
He was really well cast, especially as a young Conan, but that's a bad movie, unfortunately.
It is not a good movie at all.
Yeah. But he could have done it with a better script.
My favourite's Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
I do also have a very,
Good choice.
very soft spot in my soul for Total Recall. I love it.
I think the best is probably Terminator 2, but probably my personal favorite is Predator.
Is also very good.
Mm-hmm.
I also like Running Man.
Twins. No, say Twins.
Twins.
Yeah.
No, Twins is so good. I love
Running
Twins.
Man is spectacular. I will not have a bad word said about it.
No. God, I love
The end of the
all
Grimmer
them.
is very much like I wouldn't say a ripoff, but certainly a tribute and nod to the end of Terminator 2. So you've got this character whose arm is mostly destroyed and missing, and kind of
thumbs
bidding
down.
farewell to sun.
Yeah, except for he's not in the lava. He's in the magical lake.
Yeah.
If you should have made him give a thumbs up as he walked down into the water.
That's such a contentious thing. I know some people who think that that's so cheesy. I'm like, yeah, it is, but it's also exactly perfect.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
To be fair, though, he only had one arm, and if he tried to give the thumbs up, where's he going to put the orb? Where's he carrying it? Like, stuff it up his shirt or something?
No, he can carry it like in between his knees, just for a second, just so he can thumbs down.
Yeah.
It would have been perfect. A perfect ending for Agastia.
It's there, it's just not written. It's not explicit.
It's in my heart now.
That's right.
It's
you can
in
imagine
our hearts and in our souls.
Oh, gosh. So good. I feel like I love this book more now that we're talking about it
good.
in depth.
Definitely.
We both.
Do you know what I loved about it? I'm going to interrupt all your Arnold Schwarzenegger fangirl
Please
stuff and say
do.
what I loved about it
I think
was
you
the
probably
mix
should.
of science and magic.
Right.
Like, it's like, what is it? Magic is just science, something that's not being explained by science, or some, that famous quote. And for me, like, how a TV works is magic. I don't know how it works. I turn it on, I see pictures, and I adored that kind of mix of how all it is atoms. It's just vibrations. It was really, really good. So, what made you think, let's make science and magic basically the same thing?
Well, it definitely, like, it started with like alchemical stuff, as science did actually. Like, I was really thinking about that. I knew I wanted to have sort of like magicians from the past in it, basically, but I thought that having that bleeding point between alchemy and science would be interesting. And then I remembered there's a great Lovecraft short story called "The Dreams in the Witch House," which is about this student of quantum physics and math at a university who he becomes really interested in this like one particular like a witch. Her name is Hezekiah Mason. Great witch name. And he discovers like things about her, and like particularly the apartment she lives in. There's like impossible angles in this room. And he finds text she's written.
I've seen this like adaptation of it. I was like, oh my God, you're going to start talking about the angles in the ceiling, aren't you? Like,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, and I just found like, so that's, one of his many innovations, like this idea that like the most advanced human science, like the things we get to, can actually catch up to older forms of human knowledge. Not something that I actually personally believe at all, but something that is extremely fertile for a book. And yeah, I thought that it would just also be interesting because they're both, like you said about the television, they're incomprehensible unless if your mind doesn't work a certain way or if you're not willing to put the work in. And I think, and Vish is the kind of person who, like, I don't think he'll ever come to grasp the magic that's in front of him, because he'll never actually follow through and make the effort to do it because he doesn't think he's that kind of person. And that's like kind of what Giselle is indicating to him, is like, if you want to come to grips with this, it's going to take absolute devotion. And I don't think you're that devoted to this thing.
Yeah.
You're going to need 15 solid years of studying quantum physics or something like that to quote the book.
To be fair, Vish is just a 50-year-old boy who, who dreams of books and music, and that's not a bad place to be.
No.
Well, that's the thing. Like, the things that he will take other things very seriously, and those are the things that he'll get great at. I think that's like the lesson she's teaching him by being really hard on him, which maybe he doesn't grasp within the span of the book.
Yeah, I feel like though he's also, because he's been gone for 2 years, he's reconnecting, and he's having to reconnect to his parents, his community, his friends, and find out who he actually is in the real world again. Like, he's been isolated for so long. I feel so sorry for him.
That's good. That's intentional. I hope that there's that, like, that aspect of feeling bad for this kid who's still, like, he's kind of bratty in a lot of ways, and I think he definitely does sometimes feel like the smartest person in the room, even though he's not, and even though he full well knows that he's kind of behind things. I also did want, below all that, like, that kind of form of nerd bravado, is like this real loneliness and need to sort of catch up to where he's supposed to be in life.
Yeah.
Where he thinks he's supposed to be.
Yeah. I think it really comes through well, and me and Amanda talked about it in the first one. Like, the biggest surprise we had was Agastya Vish.
Yeah.
Huge spoiler, everyone, if you haven't listened to the main episode, but you know what Fictional Hangover was about. And it the first time, because we've both read it a couple of times, and the first time neither of us caught it, and we were annoyed that we didn't get it, because if we don't get the twists, it bugs the life out of us.
But then it's so good when we don't get the twist. That's only happened one other time.
Yes.
Cool.
And then when we read it back through again, we're like, it's freaking there. It's the signs are there. It's all there.
He even says Dad. Oh yeah, Dad's in the hospital right now, isn't he? Ah, you said it. Oh,
It's the familial smell of his childhood house. He knows where everything is in the freaking kitchen. Honestly, it was all freaking there.
So good.
And what I got from that second time round as well, knowing the Agastya Vish twist, was that when Agastya is talking to Vish, 15 Vish, you can tell he's really exacerbated. Like, he's really pissed off with his 15-year-old self. He's like, God, I was a dick. I was an annoying dick. I'm an absolute asshole. I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to do sad things in the bathroom again, take some Tylenol, probably wash it down with some rum, because I cannot stand myself.
Yeah.
I'm an irritating little twit. And I'm like, yeah, I think I would be annoyed by my 15-year-old self. I'd be annoyed by my 30-year-old self or 35-year-old self.
Same.
That felt very true. That felt very true. That might be the truest part of the whole book, is just like how, at our most self-loving, we can be like fond of the person we used to be, but at the same time, like the memories that rule and dominate are memories of how annoying and tough to deal with we must have been. And yeah, I wanted to kind of build that in a sort of weird backwards way. I think there's probably in that too is like some of the me getting in the way of making sure I was not writing just about myself too much. Yeah. There's like sort of a couple of screens there. It gives you some perspective when you put different versions of the self in the very same book.
At first, like the first read through, it was very like a familial thing, like brotherly sibling kind of older sibling who they've never really lived together because there's such an age gap. That kind of irritation. But then on the second time you go, oh, it's because it's the same person. Yeah. If you could talk to 15-year-old self, 15, you've done the time travel thing, you're talking to 15-year-old self, would you actually give yourself some advice, or would you just go slap? I mean,
God.
I kind of you hear the question, you get the question of what would you tell your younger self?
That feels like Time Cop stuff. You remember how in Time Cop with Van Damme, if you like touch your past self, you like melt into like a weird little monster thing. I feel like it would be. It's just a level of tampering too much.
Yeah.
I think you have to go through being as exactly as intolerable and annoying as you were. Barring if you become like extremely antisocial and hostile and awful to other people, then maybe I'd give some advice. But I never quite got to that level. I was just, I think probably the things that make me feel worse are like, I think a way a lot of kids who think they're smart and funny sort of like start to sharpen their wit is by being mean to the people who are closest to them and like just sort of seeing how far they can push that. And I definitely did that a lot with like my friends and family both. And it's very common, but it also sucks. And there's just no need for it. So that would be something I'd single out as like, that's really an unfortunate way to behave. And you'll be embarrassed by it someday.
Cringe.
So good.
Cool.
I don't know what I would go back and tell my 15-year-old self.
I think there's always the sensible thing, like, you tell yourself, the life advice, like, as an adult now, if I started doing that when I was a teenager, I would be physically more capable now, or mentally in a better place, or professionally in a better place, like, invest in Apple or something, but I think realistically, it's like when I've watched RuPaul's Drag Race and stuff, and they've talked, and you got the drag queens, and they go through hell, and this is just an extreme example, and they'd like to tell 15-year-old self that it will get better and you'll find your community and all that kind of thing, and that's lovely, but I don't think I would ever tell my 15-year-old self that, because, like you say, I think you need to have that exploration to be able to be the person that you are.
Yeah. I feel like if I were to tell myself something, it would be like, you can be as weird on the outside and with people around you as you are on the inside, and it'll be okay. But now, but here we are now, and I have a weird teeth in horror obsession, and I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, all of these things are fine now, and like if I could tell my 15-year-old self that, like, it's okay to be weird, you should do that.
Yeah.
That probably, I might be more weird now, which is hard to think about.
I think I'll probably tell 15-year-old me, don't put those books in the charity, put them in the attic. You'll want them back again one day.
Oh, that's such a good point. Yeah. I mean, as you can actually, I don't know how much you can see. I don't throw away many books. Like, they're all around me. But you know what? It did actually happen. Like, when I moved out of Vancouver to here, like, I held onto a bunch of books in a storage unit forever. And then I just realized, like, there's just no way that I'll ever, unless I can actually afford a home someday, I just can't hold on to these. But I still feel like just terrible. I sold them all at my very favorite used bookstore in Vancouver, and like, I know that they are going to, like, the kind of reader community that I really like best, but at the same time, those are my gosh darn books.
Yeah.
They should be on my shelves. I realized, I don't know if you cuss on the podcast.
So much. We're made of fucks.
Oh, okay.
So feel free.
Okay, I would have used stronger language there. Yeah.
But I kind of liked it. It was wholesome. It was precious.
I feel like there's a void. You can feel the void inside of you, and it's book shaped, and it's like they're out in the world somewhere. They go, Claire, why did you do this to us? And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Somebody else found them and loved them. So
the
it's
better
fine.
have, and the better have treated them right. Because otherwise, when I'm a ghost, I'm coming for them.
One of these days, when you're drunk at 2 a.m. on Abe Books, maybe you'll order your very own book back at some point.
Been there.
Maybe you will.
I've done that before. Yeah. It's a dangerous place. Anywho, I do kind of like the idea of being a vengeful spirit of going after the people who've treated my books wrong.
That's great. Is there any particular book, like one book that you've lost, like in an edition that is very uncommon that you want back, or is it really just like the books, like the particular ones you had?
No, we actually covered. There was one book we covered on the podcast called Horoscope, and it's in the depths of behind my monitor, because I have books freaking everywhere, and I read. It's like from 1993, and there it is. Thank you very much. It is an old book, and it is definitely of its times, and I adored that book for no reason other than it was just absolutely terrible, and it was a terrible horror. There was rereading it. I swear the Ren Fair that happens when there's more. There's a serial killer in it that uses the horoscope very tenuously to do the murders, and I just absolutely freaking adored that book. Yeah. And I can't remember, but we had a book theme, and I can't remember what the book theme was. It might be like Blast from the Past or something like that. And I was like, can we please cover this book? And I found, very difficultly, 2 copies of the book, because you can only get them in physical form. And I got one for myself, and I sent the other one over to Amanda, and we covered it. It was just hilarious. Just like, why did I like this book so much? It's terrible, but it's so good at the same time. But I had like a massive point horror, Goosebumps, Christopher Pike's, all of those, 90s YA horror books and crime books, and I freaking loved them. and I wish I still had them. And I know there's like the Point Horror Book Club and the YA Book Club that, you know, the podcasters and Shelley and Josh Winning and everybody do. But I had them, and I would love. Part of me would love to rebuy them, but also a part of me acknowledges that they are Teen Claire. That's Teen Claire. That's what she grew up on. That's what she loved, and that will help form my reading. Because I remember I didn't start wearing glasses until I was about 12 years old, and then I lived at the library. I borrowed so many books because I could see and I could read without headaches, and it was just a thing of beauty. And I read the entire YA section, I'm sure, in a year, and was demanding more. And I was always at the bookshop. My mum knew I was either at the library or at the bookshop buying books because I could read without pain. And so I kind of have that nostalgia for those rather than a particular book.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like I say, that's past Claire. So they would be trophies on my wall, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, but some books are that, and some books and that's fine. Okay, there's so many books that I have that I don't think I'll open again, but I need them around. I need them around me. Yeah, so I understand.
Yes, I think I described books to Amanda once and I heard it from someone else, that I have all these books, but I've listened to them on audio. So books are audiobook trophies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's great.
I do like that. Yeah. And I will say that the audiobook for the Grimmer, because we've listened to the audiobook as well as reading it, is absolutely fantastic. So I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to any of it.
So good.
I did, yeah. Like I got to be part of not choosing, but like selecting from the various actors who auditioned, and I thought the guy who did it really nailed it. Did such a good job.
Yeah,
Jacob
he did a
Manson
really good
was
job.
fantastic, absolutely spot on.
He really cared too. Like he sent all sorts of questions about specific pronunciations and all these things, and I really appreciated that. Yeah.
His Ferris was. How did we describe it? A wiener bag, a creepy wiener bag.
Yeah.
His voice.
Wearing a windbreaker.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and you interview actors on the podcast too. You should have Jacob. He seems great. Yeah.
We should.
Yeah.
We did that once with oh gosh, I just went blank on his name.
January.
No, not. It was January Lavoie, and she's the reason why I wanted to be an audiobook narrator. And we got to talk to her, and I got to fangirl, and so that was fine. But no, it was when we talked. It was All These Bodies. What's his name? Matt. Anyway, we got to talk to him.
It's Matt.
His name is Matt. We got to talk to him, but Kendara Blake has been on the show more than anyone else so many times. Matt Godfrey, that's right. But we got to talk to him after the fact, a couple of weeks later, and it was just so cool because he did such a good job with that. We got a whole love affair with audiobook narrators and audiobooks on Fictional Hangover.
Yeah.
That may or may not be appropriate.
I did accidentally stalk Steve West on Twitter one time, and it's fine. It's fine.
You didn't go around his house. It's legal. It's fine.
That's true. It's fine. But
it was social media stalking. It's a new form. It's fine.
It did get weird though, but it's okay.
Yeah.
We've moved on.
Nobody goes on Twitter anymore.
That's right, because Twitter's dead. It's fine.
That was interesting. That happened. The death of Twitter came about sort of between my last little horror book and this book, the YA book, and any presence I have in social media is on Twitter or X. So just seeing how that engagement just sort of completely vanished was kind of stinks, of course, but B, it was kind of nice to be totally helpless to do the book promo stuff that previously I felt very much a part of. I need to do everything I can to push the book, and then in this case I've been well, geez, I can't do all the things that I normally do because I put all my eggs in this one platform basket, and I'm frankly unwilling to get into the other platforms, especially, and it was just too late to be part of a book's early life cycle. So I had to trust to the nature in the market, and of course, a wonderful publicist and publisher.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been nice. Like I just wrote the thing, and now I'm talking about it. I like that too.
Well, your publicist sold it to us in an email,
great.
so
Yeah,
good
Good
job.
sell.
She's really great. I like
She
her
did
lot.
a great job.
Which
And
leads us nicely to, is there anything else that you're excited about that you want to broadcast, tell us about, book related or not? Doesn't matter. Share everything and anything.
I'm excited about Christmas. I'm excited about my new cat. I'm excited about
Yay!
having had I've got a bunch of deadlines on like screenplay stuff that and like one short story that I promised to an anthology. And
Ooh.
those have actually led me, because I can't do anything without procrastinating for 1,000 years. I started working on a novel, which I hadn't started a new novel for a long time. So that's been nice. Yeah, like I've got like 15 pages into like an idea that I've I think this one will actually go to the end. Sometimes you start a novel and you realize like a few pages in, like I don't think I can sustain a whole book out of this. But this one feels solid, and it's because of the convergence of all these homeworky things that I didn't really want to do. Kind of sent me back to the page. Like
Nice.
I wish I didn't have to be such a child about creative work, but boy oh boy I am.
Do you know anything about the anthology? Because we love an anthology.
It's a horror anthology called Northern Nights by Michael Kelly. The press is Undertow Press, Undertow Publications. Sorry, and my novellas with them too. But Michael has he's got such specific tastes and such high standards, both, that I'm not surprised that if I don't turn in a top shelf story, he might say this one's not quite right for the anthology, which would actually be totally cool, because I trust him to only let my best stuff through, which is a nice feeling to have from an editor. Yeah, Undertow is a great publisher worth checking out. It's not YA, but it's I'd say a lot of the horror there. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of grown-up horror stuff in Helpmeet, and in the Grimmer, as well as in I learned a lot about YA horror in the last couple of years when I was writing this book, and there's a lot of bleed between what's for the young and what's not for the young, apparently, and I really love that. Horror is so porous and cool, and so is YA. Yeah.
Well, we will gladly stalk you in ways, not on X though, because it's dead, but we will definitely keep our eyes open for more stuff from you. And I want to read your novella. We were talking about that a little bit at the beginning of our...
I want you guys to read that too, because I feel like you'll find it very gross. So at least that will be fulfilling for me. Yes.
It sounds absolutely perfect. We've branched out away from YA. I've slowly been infiltrating and putting in adult fiction, and now we're doing a lot of graphic novels as well.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
But I mean,
I feel like the readership is just so... It's the impression I had of YA from reading articles about it 5 years ago was that it was super stratified and super a really self-policing weird little mini world. I really don't have that impression, but that's what it's like now. I feel like it's just a bunch of people who love to read a ton and to talk about it, which is nice.
Yes, that's certainly the community that we have, and hopefully we've built as well.
Yes, hopefully we've pushed that onto other people in a good way.
Yes. It's appreciated from the writers, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, well, we will let you go now. We've kept you long enough, I think. Thank you so much for joining us and talking about weird shit we talked about. There was a lot of it was inspired by the Grimmer. If we didn't talk so much about it, there was a lot of good inspiration there too.
Well, thanks so much for having me. Yeah. Thanks for reading it twice.
Yes, we really, really did love it. It was fantastic, and I was so happy to get that email from your publicist. I'm sold. Like, and we were, and now you're here, and you're a part of the Fictional Hangover family, whether you like it or not.
She
I
sent
do
me
like
an
it.
all caps message when she got the yes from the publicist. Very excited.
Yeah.
It's like, Amanda, I'm trying to sleep here, please.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't
No, you have
matter.
to be awake now.
Yeah, it was really good. So thanks so much for joining us.
Yes,
You're
thank you very
amazing,
much.
and you're part of our family. Like I said,
Ha, ha,
deal with
ha.
it.
So much. It was great talking to you, Amanda and Claire. And yeah, have a great night. I look forward to seeing what people think of the podcast.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
So that's it for this bonus episode of Fictional Hangover. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire.
Join us next time as we discuss Secret Santa by Andrew Schaefer. Look out for our Would You Rather polls on social media. Don't forget about our book club and monthly challenges on Facebook. Be sure to visit our shop on Redbubble at fictionalhangover.redbubble.com for all your favorite Fictional Hangover-themed merchandise. And become a patron of ours on Patreon at patreon.com/fictionalhangover. Until next time, remember, the only cure for a fictional hangover is another book. Join us next time as we discuss blah, 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 blah. Everyone's favorite thing.
You can find us at fictionalhangover.com. Follow us on Instagram, Threads, TikTok and YouTube at Fictional Hangover. And find us on Facebook at facebook.com/fictionalhangover. If you like this episode, check out our others and be sure to rate, review and subscribe so you don't miss out. And finally, special thanks to Liz Emerson for our music. You can find her on Facebook and Patreon. Thanks for listening.